Hello everybody, Keith here again. Just a couple of quick bits of video that I've nailed together because I haven't got a lot to say in terms of plants in flower this month. So I'm just going to talk about some others. Now I don't know how well you're going to see this, but on that leaf are the remains of a couple of mealybugs, and I treated those with a very weak solution of washing up liquid, which I think the Americans call dish soap, in water, and I sprayed them with that. Now previously I've always used a systemic insecticide, but that's knocked them on the head, and the point being, probably the important point being, that it doesn't, not being systemic, there's no real restriction on how often you apply it. So I've been I mean, got these first time, but if I found there were more, I can spray it again and again and again, and there's no real problem. So that's my Dendrobium lady Goldman. Dear, now what's happened? There we go. And some rather dead mealybugs. I didn't wipe them off, so I wanted to see whether they'd survive it, and they didn't. Okay, the second thing I want to talk about today is what I've learned this year with my Vanda. I've had 3 Vandas altogether. This is the original one, which I got from Psychopisis Plants. It's called Apricot Brandy. I got a no ID one from Burnham's, which seemed to develop some kind of stem rot and just died. I couldn't say it, couldn't do anything with it. The other one was a weak plant, which I bought from a fellow member of the East Midlands Orchid Society, who wanted to thin their collection out, but it was a pretty ropey plant when I got it, and I don't think I did it any favours, but again it didn't really go anywhere and it died. So I thought, seeing as I've actually made it do a lot better this year, I'd try and talk about that. Talk about being prepared for this. This is what it's normally kept in. I've got a stick taped onto the side of this tall glass jar, and there's a ring on the Vanda stem that comes down, and as many of the roots I can get in here, I do, but there's some that don't fit. It had more roots that did when I got it, but they've died off. Now, it's always done a little bit, but it's never really got going. When I first got it, I used to fill this with water or fertiliser about twice a week. It would get looked at once, twice a week, and then I would simply siphon out the exit, what was left, back into one of my storage jars. And then, probably a couple of years ago now, I started to put stuff into buckets. I thought, well, I've got 3 plants now, it's worth my while keeping stuff in buckets. So I started keeping rainwater for a start in 3-gallon buckets, and now I've got one bucket which is dedicated to the fertilised rainwater, which is the Orchid Focus Grow plus some calmate. And I'm soaking it for anything between 2 and 4 hours probably, every day. Now, I don't know whether some people think that's a lot or not, but it seems to be doing mine good. It's never really grown all that well. Now, that's been in soak for about 2.5 hours today. And I take it out of the bucket and shake it because some of the lower leaves are underwater and I don't want any of that to do. The other thing is I want to get it out of there and into the air so that there's a chance that with relatively low humidity in here today, it's showing 38% and fairly warm, these will dry out before it gets a chance to get funny. The roots have done extremely well this year. There's lots of new roots. We've still got growing tips out. This tends, when it cools down, to pull the tips back. There's some signs that some of the tips are beginning to retract, but at the moment it's still doing okay. What's surprised me is how much it's grown. Normally it grows very slowly. And I'm hoping you're going to see it now. I used to keep it that way, facing round to the window, but you can probably see it's started to veer off towards the light, as you might well expect. So I turned it right round to 180 degrees and I put it up against the window because everybody says, oh yeah, Vandas, they like lots and lots of light, and as you can see here, it's scorched. But now I've got the blinds down on the windows, it's much happier. But I think the important bit is you can see there that there's dark green underneath that pale patch. So these leaves are still growing. That's not caused a problem. And if you look at the upper three, you can see just how much they have grown. Because you can see, like there's a little white line, which originally was where it was tucked in behind this one. And this, again, was only just showing over the thing. And look how big it is now. It's probably 2.5 inches, which is what, 65 millimetres high. And it's grown. So I don't know whether it's a combination of fertilising it better with the addition of the calmate, which might have something to do with it. It seems to have done well or improved things for some of my other orchids. Or giving it more water so it can grow for longer. But it does seem to be doing a lot better this year than it has done. There's no sign of it flowering, but I will take better growth over flowering any day of the week. So that's Apricot Brandy, a lovely pale brown, orangey brown sort of coloured flowers. So that's another one. The last plant I want to talk about today is a bit of a sorry tale, unfortunately. This is my Psychopisis Mariposa. And the other day I was having some work done on the conservatory, and the workman, without knowing what he might be doing, dropped something, reached across and just knocked the complete end off the original flower spike. I took the flower off and took the growing tip for the extension. I've no idea what these things do. I don't know whether they branch or what. I'm just going to leave it and see whether it withers back. Luckily we've got the second one, and I hope you can see, perhaps if I zoom in a bit, you can see that the second spike is putting out its first flower bud, so that's obviously good. Now the other thing about it is, as usual, I may have left this a little bit too long. It's been in this pot for almost 2 years, done in November 2020. It's growing okay. It's put this new spike up. We've got another new growth showing. We've got a new growth developing here. So it's not struggling or anything like that, but today I noticed that one of the older pseudobulbs down here had died. It wasn't rot, at least I don't think it was, but it had gone sort of dry and rather brittle. So I took it off, but that does make me think that this needs doing. As I've said before when I've been showing you this, it's a bizarre one. It likes its roots wet, it doesn't like the pseudobulbs wet. And I think this is staying wet too long. When I first got it, I got the mix of bark and moss completely wrong, and it was staying wet for a fortnight. And it sulked. And as a result of that, I repotted it and used less moss, and it was drying in about a week, and that's why it's got all these holes in. Now it's showing signs that it's holding on to that moisture far too long, so I suspect that this medium has had it. I know Psychopisis are another one of these plants that don't like to do a lot. When they're repotted, they don't like it very much, but I don't really think I've got an awful lot of choice. It needs something doing with it, and something doing with it reasonably quickly to try and make sure that this lovely plant, which I'm told not many people grow anymore, can keep growing and doing well. I don't want any problems in this front end to start working the way back. I haven't really got any signs that that's happening, but better safe than sorry, of course. So that's 3 plants that have developed but aren't on any of the lists for regular videoing or anything like that, that I thought you might like to have a look at, almost as a mate weight, because there's only going to be about 5 plants in the in bloom category this month. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you found that a little bit interesting, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.